This review is about a mature-rated TV show. Viewer discretion is advised. So, the long-awaited HBO TV series of The Last of Us has started streaming, and its first episode, titled When You're Lost in the Darkness, certainly leaves an interesting impression. It is very similar to the game, least of all its early story moments, but mainly that it is a non-original story that is still told extremely well. Time will tell for the rest of the season whether this will remain the case, but let's look at the first episode as a feature-length piece of television and what is similar and different to the game so far without spoiling too much. Quite simply, the story of the episode depicts the early parts of a 2013 Naughty Dog game, The Last of Us, with noticeable changes. Joel Miller has a good life and with his daughter Sarah and brother Tommy, only for a pandemic to ruin their lives and then some. As the years pass, Joel barely survives through militia, infected humans with cannibalistic tendencies, and a rebel group. He and new partner Tess are tasked with smuggling a teenage girl Ellie out of a Boston quarantine zone, but there's more to that will eventually be made clear over the season. The most noticeable changes are that we spend more time with Sarah, which makes it all the more emotional when the prologue ends. Then a few different things happen to the characters anyone familiar with the games will recognise, and even Joel and Ellie meet under slightly different circumstances. We get to see more of Ellie than is mostly expected because of the feature length of the episode, a remedy that made sure the episode didn't end not long after the prologue. A few of the dialogue exchanges are almost the exact same, which is not bad. There are a few lines of dialogue which are forced, almost as if they had to feature in the trailer, or are poor bits of expositional jargon that may be hard to understand, more so for those who haven't played the game. Then again, those of you who play the game will remember it took a little time for the world building to be made clear, and that is sure to happen in the remainder of the series. The cold open about the virus is more of a way to just start the story differently, and even be very relevant to the C virus. Extending the prologue with Joel and Sarah can also be considered a way just to be different to the game, but the performances and tension anchor this segment. The acting is generally good. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey may, to an extent, not resemble their characters, but that's okay, as they portray the characters a little differently, yet effectively and emotionally, considering they have little experience with the game. However, Mel Dandridge reprises her role of Marlene without motion capture this time, and is great. The acting of Nico Parker, Gabriel Luna, and Anna Torv as Sarah, Tommy, and Tess respectively are exceptional. As can be expected for a lot of HBO shows, the production values are cinematic. There are a few camera angles borrowed from the games, including so much as the context-sensitive action of Joel pushing a cabinet. The handheld camera work is not as bad or even erratic as critics seemingly made it out to be, but the changeover of directors and some occasionally erratic scene changes reflect this. That being said, some of the editing is extremely good, with good flow and good use of jump cuts to make it look like the scene isn't over, or it establishes tension. The music with the abstract guitar chords from the game is familiar, yet works. There are a few songs you will recognise, with one of the end credits apparently intended to be heard more than once during the series. Considering the familiarity of the music, and then some, it is arguable that the story, even with its changes, is too similar to the game so far. Considering the story was not terribly original in the first place, relying on its emotional core and developing characterizations to really compel the player, it could be said that the original appeal has faded by the time the show has started streaming. That being said, it is a pilot episode, and a generally entertaining and well-paced one even for its feature length. It will be interesting to see how the characters develop, especially Joel and Ellie, and even if there are any more action scenes, such as the many combat scenarios from the first game. Even if you haven't played the games before, you may enjoy this if you are into the post-apocalypse drama genre. Just be aware that more of the story beats and jargon are more so for those who've played the games, which requires a little patience. Neil Druckmann directed the second episode, which will be streaming in nearly a week, and that can only indicate the series may go in a good, though far from amazing, direction.